1970s, Mr. Goranson found a way, you got to think about back when this was, found a way to harden steel, a method for them to make a harder steel than they were making before. And he began making saw blades. Well, they, number one, developed the method to make a saw blade push and cut on the push and the pull. Back in those days, they would fall trees with the long saws. Well, before that, they only cut in one direction. So what did that do when they found out the way to cut it on the push and pull? Cut the work in half. But they said the key to him is that he took the shavings from the manufacture of the saw blades and used those shavings to produce fish hooks and leaders. And that's where their little logo comes from. And they said he made a fortune by stashing away that money selling fish hooks and leaders. In 1876, the company actually was called Sandpit. They changed their name to Bahco someday later, but back in then it was that it's part of the European SNA union, but they merged with Snap-on Tools. So they are now part of the Snap-on Tool, which we are more familiar with over here. Their ergo line, for one of those of y'all who are not, if you know anything about an ISO registered company, I had to stick that in there because I came from an organization that was an ISO registered organization, and I'm going to tell you, that is a really pain in order to maintain that kind of thing. She actually said that they meet the requirements for OSHA ergonomics over there in Europe, but because some of our things are unmeetable as far as she was concerned to be considered an OSHA approved for its thing, for its type of ergo design, they have not yet met it. But their program is an ISO registered company. For those that y'all don't know that, you got to record every single process. You got to be able to track every single thing that happens back to the original. Come on in. Back to the original product that it went to. It means their quality control is beyond repute. I mean, because they have a way in order to track any issue that goes on. So that was kind of like one of my deals. But I'm going to tell you, when she told me, we had some issues getting together with Joy. She had some illness, and she had 2 deaths in the family right before Christmas. And it was getting close, and I was like, can you just ship me the stuff like everybody else? Because she wanted to come meet with me. She said, no, I don't want to do that because I want to demonstrate this to you. And only after I demonstrate it will you understand why it is different than anything that you've seen before. And I guess after, 20-something years, I don't see Mr. Fielder get excited about very many things, especially pruners. But I will tell you that when we got through with this, he was like excited. So he's going to talk to you about 3 tools from the Bahco company and why we, there's how you want to do these slides together because you want to come up here and do the demo. But they have 3 tools that we feel like would put the all you need to do a pruning job and why these are different than anything that you would have ever seen before. Which one? Well, I have a slide for this too.
Sean said I was really impressed with these things is, number one, the quality of them, the way they're made. But the biggest thing is the innovation as far as the biomechanics. For those of you back there in the back, you see this has a rotating hand grip on it. Any of you prune all day long, your fingers get sore, you start to get tendonitis in your fingers, and with that rotating handle, every time you grip, as you can see, it rotates. And it takes a tremendous amount of strain off of your hands. The other thing about these tools is they are set up so that you don't have any different wrist angles. you're working at a standard wrist angle, and as you can see, the blade presents itself as part of your hand. So you're not having to do weird cutting angles and weird things to be able to cut with them. Probably the biggest thing with this tool is that it is hinged at an extremely high point, which gives you more leverage. It also allows this tool to cut rather than to crush or like a guillotine through something. And if you look at a traditional pair of pruners, what you'll end up with is that you get that sort of guillotining action and that they cut straight down. Now these are Felcos and they've got a reasonably good angle, but I want to show you something. Here's the same hand angle I was using with the Bahcos, and look where the blades are on the Felco. I mean, they're almost straight up. Same hand angle. And it makes all the difference in the world when you're cutting. The other thing is, as I said, these actually cut. The blade comes down at a high angle and cuts into whatever you're pruning with, just like that. Something that you can do, because they do have a and they come in left and right hand models as well. So if you want to run two at one time, get that scissor hand thing kind of going. Sean's got the size corrections. The catalog comes with a size chart, and the Bahco people urge you to download this if you don't have access to one of them, and use the size chart to pick your tools. Now, I've got big hands, but I'm actually using a medium pruner because it fits my hands and my fingers better, I think, than the large one. It's more comfortable for me to use.
About my left hand, right hand,
yep.
Head size, and
they come in a 1, 2, and 3 head size. You can buy for the same tool the extra head sizes, although I think a number 2 in the standard is going to be about your standard for everything. And you can change these out with a screwdriver in just a matter of minutes and change over tools. They also have another feature in that they steel themselves when they cut. They have a hardened lower jaw on them, and as the blade slides over them, it's just like taking a butcher knife and working it on a butcher steel every time you make a cut. So they're steeling that edge back up, and they stay remarkably sharp. As I said, they don't take a lot of pressure to cut with. This is actually that's a 3/8 dowel.
Now, the number 2 blade is for a 3/4 cut, and it doesn't take any more
I
strength.
mean, that's a dry 3/8 dowel.
Yeah.
That's a 3/4 inch dowel. And, you know, with green material. The other thing about these blades, the way they're set up, is that they allow you a lot of dexterity. And I dare say that you won't take a pair of pruners and sharpen the stick with them.
You physically can't do that with the Felcos, guys.
You can't. I'm going to show you that with the Felcos. They just tear the material. And in Corona's the same way. But with these, you can hear it up front. You can actually hear it cut. It's not tearing, it's cutting through there. And you can sharpen a pencil with these things. I mean, there's a little pencil. You don't have that kind of control with a pair of pruners. So, tremendous amount of ergonomics built into the tool.
The inclination of the blade is there.
Placeability, I mean, you can work them. The inclination of the blade is perfect in working with your hands. These were designed for folks that prune grapes for a living in France, and they make 10,000 cuts a day when they're pruning. And the nice thing about them is if you get them sized to your hand, these are the professional pruners. Everything's ergonomically balanced. The top handle lays right underneath the ball of your thumb so that it doesn't ride on bone. I mean, it's just amazingly well made. They have a standard line of pruners. Now these are the cut and hole types, but their standard line of pruners are set up to be ambidextrous with straight type handles. But I want to show you something. They maintain the ergonomics in that tool versus the standard ones. So these still are more ergonomically built than a pair of Felcos or Coronas. And of course, the cut and hole feature on here, very sensitive as far as being able to cut with them where you want to, and then being able to cut and not crush a rose stem. I tried them at home yesterday, just doing some pruning out with them, and I was not, you develop a little touch with them, but I was not crushing the stem at all when I cut it. It's a really nice set of pruning. They also make a little pair of snips, and I don't have a pair loose to demonstrate, but these are little professional snips. These things would be ideal for making cuts on house plants. Where I really like them and see these things will come in handy is harvesting. Harvesting anything from peppers, tomatoes, anything that you have to snip off of a plant. These things are really nice, easy to work with. Just got a little garret on the bottom of them, and you can take them and put them in a pocket and pull them back out. They're really nice little snips to have in a garden, pruning out any disease material. It also do very nicely on roses. But really good product, really nice things to work with. Let me show you something. That's a pair of right-handers and a pair of left-handers. If we turn them around, you can see how they're ergonomically pitched for the left and right hands. And when you're cutting with them, it makes all the difference in the world. Now, actually, I did get some of these out and try two at one time. And if you can, I mean, really going through stuff. Our Master Gardener group got to play with these things last week in both the professional line and the homeowner line. And I think they found that they were really nice, although I did have a couple of people that weren't real crazy about that rotary handle. But once you get used to that, I think you'll find it something that's really nice to have to be able to work with.
They try to keep their price range about the same as Felcos. If I was going to invest it, I'd get that professional line before I spend the money for the homeowner line.
Certainly.
If you that rotating handle thing is weird, but if you use it for a little while and you get used to it, I really like the lock on it because it stays locked, and in order to unlock it, you have to actually squeeze the handle just a little bit to get it unlocked. These are all tagged, but I finally did figure out that the lock for the left hand is not on the same side as the
No,
lock
that's
for the right
they're
hand.
completely,
Yeah,
they're completely
so
a
you need
mirror
to
image.
pick your size of blade, you pick your size of frame, and you pick your left-handed, right-handed.
Yes. Like I said, look, Sean said, if you're looking at a tool, I'd go ahead and invest in that professional line in Bahco. I don't think you can go wrong with it. And if you're looking for a standard blade size, that number 2 is going to handle most anything you want to handle. The number 1, this is actually the number 1 blade size here. You can see the difference in profile of them. Just a little thinner blade, it's the same length, it's just a little thinner. And then the number 3, which is a good bit bigger. And that's a lot of pruning. I mean, if you're looking at cutting stuff the size of my thumb, you know, that pair of number 3s right there and a pair of hand loppers would work. They're rated a ½ inch and half to 5/8 of an inch, I think, diameter cut on those. So.
Now they have, and in their catalog, as a few of you have picked up some of the catalogs, they carry a full line of axes and shears and saws and loppers. So it's a matter of whether or not you find a company that you like, that you'll be able to find some additional items.
Their professional head shears are wonderful. They're padded, so when you're working your shears and shearing through, the stops are padded, and they don't jar your joints when you're coming to a stop, because you need to snap a pair of shears to get the cut, and when they come together, they're just dampened perfectly. And their loppers, I was cutting through some 1-inch Laurel pedaling with their loppers just, I mean, you could hear it go when it went through. And that's tough wood.
I thought it was kind of cool. She told us that, I didn't know they had this, but they have a little thing they put on the wrist for landscapers that measure the number of cuts they make in a day. And so somebody who works in, pruning grapes, they gave, for instance, will do 10,000 cuts a day. But she said that they went to a group in Florida, a group of landscapers. A lot of the places, some of these residential places won't let them use a power tool, but certain times of the day for the noise. So they have to do a lot of hand pruning, and even your regular landscaper doing pruning was doing 4,000 cuts. So that you can tell how many times it's click, click. So, you do more than you think when you're out there, especially doing our
Sean, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
On those snips, do they also come in left and right hand?
No, they come butt-nosed and pointy-nosed.
Okay.
Beautiful.
Sean,
Yes.
you've got a note, some items are available for A.M. Leonard.
Yeah, two things. A.M. Leonard carries some of these, but they don't carry all the combinations of left hand, right hand, size blade, or whatever. The Bahco store that is listed there will carry them all. The A.M. Leonard does not carry the cutting holders. Now, we'll give you a bit of something, because I know that a lot of the folks that, especially out locally, have used A.M. Leonard pruners for years. It was a less expensive alternative to Bahco, but was built the same way. The parts of that are provided by Bahco. It's just put together with A.M. Leonard's name on it. It's not the ergonomic design, but it is their blade and their materials that put together. So, yeah, they are.
There's several other companies.
You may find it, and so you'll get it today, but there's a discount from A.M. Leonard active that if you found the right hand, they carried a lot of right hand number 2s. They didn't, I don't think they carried the left hand at all, which is, makes a big difference if you're left-handed. So I just kind of threw that in there if you want to order from